Welcome back, folks, to this episode of Pick Your Politics. I am Stephanie Phillips, and my co-host is missing today. He wasn't feeling well, so we'll miss him. So I'm flying solo today. We have a great guest for you, a great lineup, actually. We're doing back-to-back shows today, and all through the next couple of months, we're doing 2 shows a week up to the general election. So if you are a candidate and you want to come on the show, get in touch with me and we will get you on the calendar so that we can get your message out before the election that's coming soon. I think we've got 78 days left or something. It's coming up real quick. But anyway, we have Randy Sutton coming on the show today. He is with the Wounded Blue. He's the founder of that. We're going to ask him all about that. He is a retired lieutenant with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and he's had quite a career. He was in law enforcement in New Jersey for 10 years and then came to Las Vegas and was with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department for 24 years. He has authored numerous books, and he's been on shows on TV and in movies, and he'll tell us all about that too. Welcome to the show, Randy. Thanks for taking the time to come on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. So give us a little bit. I gave just a little teeny tiny overview, but tell us a little bit about your background and then also how and why you founded the Wounded Blue.
Sure. So I did spend 34 years as a law enforcement officer. As you mentioned, I did 10 years in a small town of Princeton, New Jersey, which was my hometown. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, got a little bored working in a small town, 30-officer department. And some FBI agent friends of mine had told me that there was this really good police department in Las Vegas called the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police. And so I came out here, tested, and had to begin my career all over again, back as a patrol officer, and never looked back. I had a great 24-year career here with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. But I've also done a lot of other things along that road, I've written, as you said, 4 books. I actually have a 5th one coming out in a couple of months called Rescuing 911, The Fight for America's Safety, which I think is going to be a very timely book considering what's been happening in societally when it comes down to crime and public safety. Also, you see right behind me, there's a framed book cover there. That was actually my first book, and called True Blue, Police Stories by Those Who Have Lived Them. And I did that book right after the World Trade Center was attacked, and collected stories from cops from all over the nation, and then donated 100% of the royalties to the Widows and Orphans Fund for the officers who were killed in 9/11.
Were you there? Were you in New York at that time or New Jersey?
No,
okay.
No, I was here.
Okay.
But I felt that I wanted to do something. I felt a little frustrated that I couldn't be there to help out. So I helped out in the way that I could. And then if you've ever seen the television show Cops, I was one of the most featured officers on that show, 3 seasons. And then from that was given a nice role in the movie Casino, where I did a scene with Robert De Niro and Sharon Stone.
I remember.
And that was very fun. That's how I got in the Screen Actors Guild, and I've been acting in television and movies ever since. And then probably the most important thing that I've done, though, is create this organization called the Wounded Blue.
And you have quite the story of how that all came about, right?
Mm-hmm. I will tell you that story. Yes, indeed. It is the National Assistance and Support Organization for Injured and Disabled Law Enforcement Officers, a nationwide charitable organization. And what created it, I never believe me. If I had looked into a crystal ball all those years ago when I retired, I never would have seen me in this role. But life sometimes hands you a set of circumstances that leads you to a path. And I was led to this path when I had a stroke in my patrol car on the Las Vegas Boulevard.
Wow.
And that's what ended my police career. It almost ended my life. And then something happened that I never would have expected, and that's that my own police agency turned its back on me and refused to pay my medical bills, and forced me to get a lawyer, to go to court, and to make them pay what they knew they were legally obligated to do to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, they spent tens of thousands of dollars of the taxpayers' money to fight it, and I was shocked, and I was also, you know, I felt betrayed that my own department could treat me like this.
Right. Did other people experience that same thing? Did you find out?
Many people have
Oh,
experienced that same thing, all around the nation, which is exactly why I created the Wounded Blue. So when I retired, because I was so visible in the law enforcement community from the books and the TV shows and the movies and being a police trainer around the country, cops started reaching out to me, telling me, "Listen, Randy, I know you don't know me, but I don't know who to turn to. I was shot. My chief never came to visit me in the hospital. They're not paying my medical bills, and not one, not two, Stephanie, but three, and then eight, and then 15, and not because I could do anything, but only because I was visible to them. I was
right.
somebody that they recognized,
Yeah.
and so they turned to me for help, and I felt completely helpless. And I thought, wait a minute, there's got to be a resource for these men and women, and discovered to my shock that there was no national resource. And virtually every single one of these communications ended the same way, with someone saying, "I feel abandoned, I feel alone." And so our motto is never forgotten, never alone. And we've helped more than 13,000 police officers since we launched 3.5 years ago.
Wow, that's amazing. So only 3.5 years. I was going to ask you what year that was, and what year did you retire? Right
I
before.
retired in 2010,
Oh, okay.
and then began the process. Um, it was a long journey to create this organization. I had no idea what I was doing, or what I was getting into.
Yeah,
But when I look back now, I realize that this was the path that I was meant to take.
that's awesome. So, and I know you've helped a bunch of local officers, and the officer that was shot, unfortunately, during all those riots during COVID that we were having here. You helped, forgive me, his name escapes me.
Jay,
Yes,
Jay.
you helped him too, yes?
Well, we sent some money to the IPOF for that,
Okay,
but he's getting very, very good care.
that's good.
I mean, I think the community really, really stepped forward for him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a fighter, and he's an important symbol, because he's a symbol of the victim, of the anti-police insanity, and he was shot for absolutely no reason
Right,
whatsoever.
right. And so young.
So
It's such a
yeah,
tragedy.
so yeah.
So, since you've started all of this and helped all of these officers and the ones here, how has Metro changed their tune now?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a very, very broken system, in the workers' compensation system, of not just Metro, but of all the Southern Nevada law enforcement agencies. You see, here's what happens. Um, they routinely just simply deny claims, and they force the officer to often get a lawyer in order to fight them to get the benefits that they are legally due. And it's great for the lawyers,
Hmm.
not so good for the cops.
You would think the
And
policy would change by now.
well, you know what? It's not so much a policy. It is a broken system that is all revolves around the almighty dollar.
Hmm.
And the police departments hire these third-party administrators, which are basically insurance companies, even though these agencies are self-insured. But how does an insurance company make money? They make their money by denying claims. And there's no law that protects the worker
Mm-hmm.
from these denials. So until the legislature actually starts taking a hand in this, and they've turned a blind eye to this forever. I mean,
Wow.
it happened to me 10 years ago. It's been like this. Um, it's been like this for more than 10 years, and it continues to this day.
Wow.
So, it depends on your set of circumstances. Um, but, there's a ton of ways to get disabled or be seriously injured in the line of duty.
Mm-hmm.
Most people think it's very dramatic. It's a gunshot or you've been knifed or something like that. But most of the injuries don't occur like that. You get hurt in a car wreck.
Mm-hmm.
You have a stroke. You have a heart attack. You fall down while you're chasing somebody and you blow your knee out. You blow your back out. And what happens is these third party administrators literally deny the benefits until the officers fight for it. And this isn't just here locally.
Yeah.
This is a nationwide problem. I tell you when I know we'll be successful. We have been successful when my organization doesn't even need to exist because
Yeah.
we shouldn't need to exist.
No,
Right?
that's true.
Officers should get the care that they need. Both now, when I talk about injuries, I'm not just talking about physical injuries. We deal with the psychological and emotional injuries probably equally or more,
Mm-hmm.
because post-traumatic stress injury can be as real as a bullet. So we're fighting injustice. Our mission statement is really clear, and that is to improve the lives of injured and disabled officers through support, education, assistance, and legislation.
That's
And
awesome.
it's a tall order, I can tell you that. And I can also tell you that there's already a terrific suicide rate for law enforcement. And when you add on being severely injured in the line of duty or disabled, it dramatically rises. So we are saving lives, and we are improving lives.
That's awesome. How many years did you have to fight to get them to pay your medical bills, or did they even end up paying them for you?
Oh yeah, they knew they were
Okay.
going to lose,
Oh,
and they
okay.
did, but it took a year.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they ruined my credit because the bill collectors were knocking on my door. Um, they added that stress onto my life after I had a stroke. That's really not what I needed, but
Right.
they just didn't care, and they still don't care. And so, we see this. Um, we've seen this with officers being treated for COVID, where they've just been denied their claims,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's clear that these many of these cases are very very clear cut, but they play this game, and it's not a funny game, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not a fun game. So it's and I can tell you horror stories. In fact, we have a documentary film. I urge your listeners and your watchers, your viewers to see. If you go to Amazon.com and you put in "The Wounded Blue," you'll see our documentary film. It was done directed by Jason Harney, who was a retired sergeant in Las Vegas Metro, very talented filmmaker, and it will blow your mind.
That's
You'll
amazing.
you'll see things and you'll go, wait a minute, how is this humanly possible? And really, Stephanie, one of the reasons that I have a difficult time in raising money is because when I tell someone that a police officer could be shot in the line of duty and then not have their bills paid, they look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah, I bet.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Don't all cops get a great pension?
Yeah.
The number of officers who have been hurt in the line of duty is astounding. I mean, I'm going to throw one statistic at you. That last year, more than 60,000 American law enforcement officers were physically assaulted in the line of duty. 60,000, Stephanie.
That's incredible. That's a lot.
Physically attacked, shot, stabbed, beaten, run over.
Yeah.
Many of those, officers were killed. Officers were maimed or disabled. And the number of these officers who have been told, you either heal or you're fired,
Wow.
is astounding.
Yeah,
It's happening. It's happening right here.
that's amazing. Well, speaking of the legislature, and given the fact that you have been on TV and doing all of these things, have you ever thought about running for office?
Um, I've been approached a couple times. Um, Going in, I beg for money now, but for an organization. For me to go beg for money for an election,
Yeah.
not happening.
There's a lot of police officers, we've got Sheriff Lombardo running for governor and Stavros Anthony for lieutenant governor and Ray Spencer for city council. And there's a lot of law enforcement that get into politics. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, and I'm going to support every one of those guys because you see, it's interesting. Police officers are mission driven, and that's why that's why the skills that go with being a police officer carry forth into other areas of public service and also private service. Because cops want to get things done, and we're used to getting things done. Now, when you choose a life of service. And that's what it is. That's what a police officer does. They make a conscious choice. I want to serve my community. Well, that doesn't stop when you put your retirement papers in. I mean, I have 30 disabled and injured officers on my peer support team. Every one of these guys has faced severe injury. These men and women, and many are physically disabled. But you know what? They want to continue to serve, and they are doing so in very dramatic ways. They're saving lives because that calling for service is something that is intrinsic within us. And so, I think that going into the political realm, I think maybe is an extension of that service.
Yeah, that's great. So you do quite a bit of traveling. You go around the country. Do you hold seminars? Do you speak? What do you do across the country for Wounded Blue?
Or D, all of the above.
Okay.
I do. Yeah, we actually have our second annual National Law Enforcement Survival Summit coming up October 11th through the 14th in the Midwest. Last year we had it in Vegas. It was incredibly successful.
Yeah, I remember seeing all
locally,
the advertising and the social media about it. It looked great.
well, I'll tell you, and how it happened? It happened because of my meeting with Guy Martin from Martin Harris Construction,
Oh, okay.
who is a great benefactor of ours and an incredible man. This was born from he and I sitting together. I had hit him up for a donation for the Wounded Blue, and he said, "Randy, I could stroke your check right now for that." But he says, if you could do something, if you could create a way to keep officers from getting injured before it happened, what would that look like? And luckily I had an answer because it was something that I've been thinking about for a long time. And I said, that's pretty simple, Guy. I said, I would create a training conference that would encompass every avenue of surviving a law enforcement career, physically, tactically, emotionally, psychologically, family relationships. And he looked at me and he smiled and he said, that's more like it. And so through that conversation and his generosity, we created the first National Law Enforcement Survival Summit, which is now going to be an annual training conference.
That's
So,
awesome.
I'll tell you what it also shows is, and I fully believe this, that most of the nation believes in their police. Most of the nation trusts their police. But you'll never hear that on the mainstream media
Right.
because they're busy sensationalizing, 14 seconds of videotape without any context. Where the police across this nation have been acting honorably for decades. Now, are we all a bunch of angels? That would be no. Are there people that get corrupted by the power? The answer is yes. Are there people
Yeah.
that will commit misconduct? The answer is yes. But law enforcement is pretty good at weeding them out, and it is not systemic. There is no systemic racism in law enforcement, despite what you've been told.
Right.
But what has happened across the country is that there is now a crisis in law enforcement, and it's nothing that I've ever seen before. It is just now beginning to be felt. Like I'm gonna give you a prediction right now, Stephanie, that we are going to see diminished public safety for years as a result of this insane movement of anti-law enforcement movement.
Yeah, that is
And
such a shame.
it is it's well it's not just a shame, it's killing people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's be real about what we're talking about. This is leading to the deaths of of many Americans throughout this country, and the ineffectiveness of law enforcement that is being born from this insane reaction to the death of George Floyd has
Yeah.
done more damage to law enforcement and to the public safety than anything in history.
Yeah, they have no idea when they say and shout defund the police. They don't understand the consequences of that. People already feel unsafe in their neighborhoods and things like that. And then, when the cops are just walking away and retiring, I mean, look at New York City, the NYPD. My gosh, they're retiring just by the droves over there. So it's not good at all.
And it's a testament to Metro that they have been able to keep a semblance of a decent recruitment process.
Mm-hmm.
They're working their butts off. Like they're going all over the country, and in some ways, we're taking advantage of the horrible treatment that cities like Seattle, Portland have treated their cops, because they're coming here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to other places that appreciate them.
Right.
So, but still, Metro's recruitment is way down too.
Yeah. Florida's taken them. South Dakota's taken them. Yeah, where people want them to come. So how many states do officers come to your conference? Do you get officers from every state?
All over, oh yeah, all over the nation.
Oh,
It's
that's
a
great.
national conference. What
Okay.
we have offered is a methodology of surviving an entire career. I have the best speakers in the country on this topic, and it's many of the officers recognize that they have been damaged emotionally from the job,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very hesitant to ask for help, and that's one of the main impacts of the Survival Summit is coming to grips with understanding that what you're feeling as a police officer, those feelings of emotional upheaval and depression that sometimes comes with this is normal.
Yeah.
And can be dealt with, and so it's really critical. This Survival Summit is amazing.
Where is it
I
taking
literally
place?
This time it's going to be in Terre Haute, Indiana,
Oh, okay.
October 11th through the 14th.
Okay.
And any officers who are listening to this, or those who love a cop or know a cop that you think would benefit from this, go to thewoundedblue.org. It's very inexpensive. It's $295 to attend this thing.
Wow.
We're doing it with two other great charities that are working with us. One was started by the wife of a murdered police officer, and the other, the sister of a murdered police officer. So we are all working together to do the very best that we can do to save lives, to save careers, save marriages and relationships of police officers from across the country.
That's awesome. Can you let folks know who your speakers or some of your speakers will be?
Sure. One of them is I believe is going to be a guest on your show.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we just lost him. We'll try and get him back. But yes, our next guest is Sheriff Mark Lamb. There you are. You were
Oh,
just
I'm
getting
sorry.
ready. We just
Yep,
lost you for a second. Go ahead.
Sheriff Mark Lamb is one of my speakers. He is a dynamite speaker. He was part of our lineup last year as well, and the cops loved him.
Yeah.
He's talking about surviving leadership of police agencies. He's very outspoken. He's a great speaker. Dave and Betsy Smith, who are some of the most legendary law enforcement trainers in the country on how to survive tactically. I've got we've got a panel of children of officers who have been severely injured in the line of duty.
Wow.
Emotional survival. I will be speaking along with my director of training, Sergeant Bob Bemis, who is a Pennsylvania State Trooper who was run over by his own patrol car after it was struck by another vehicle.
Wow.
And his story of survival is incredible. I mean, it's literally life-changing, life-altering information, and not just information. You know, I've been to 1,000 police conferences, Stephanie, and most of them can be pretty boring. You know, you're just getting a lot of information thrown at you. This is entertaining. We have an incredible police comedian coming up joining us. So it's not only going to be incredibly beneficial as far as a learning experience, but also a bonding experience between cops from around the nation.
That's awesome. Well, before I let you go, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you if they want you to speak at an event for people. How do they reach you? And then also, how do they get a hold of your books?
Well, I can. All right, let's. I'm very easy to find. I am Randy at thewoundedblue.org. It's Randy at thewoundedblue.org if you want to send me an email. I'm on Facebook. I also have a podcast called The Voice for American Law Enforcement, and that's heard on iHeartRadio and on every platform. I urge people to go to our website, thewoundedblue.org, and there's a little button at the top of it that says donate.
Yes.
We really need the support.
Yeah.
It's critical. And many times I have people contact me and say, Randy, I'm not involved in law enforcement, but I support law enforcement, but I don't know how to show it. Well, here's how to show it. You just hit that donate button, give $10, $25, whatever you can do. And my books are either available on Amazon, or if you're interested in getting my new book, getting on the list for notification when it comes out, go to rescuing911.org. Rescuing911.org. Put your contact info in there, and we'll let you know when it comes out.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again for taking the time to come on. It was good to see you again, and I'm sure I will see you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Randy. Take care. Well, that was great, folks. And like he said, get on to thewoundedblue.org. And if you can donate anything, please donate. And that will help a bunch of law enforcement officers, as you heard, all across the nation. So we're getting ready for our next show. And thanks for tuning in to this episode of Pick Your Politics. And I will see you soon.